Hey everyone, it's LSID932 on YouTube. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Ultimatum. We are on episode 5. Please like the video, share it with a friend, leave a comment below. We're in full gear. We are in full gear in these marriages, and I got a lot of notes, so let's get to it. We start off, it's week 2 of these trial marriages, JR and Sandy. He asked her what are her expectations of social media with her husband. She said we post each other. That's the expectation. And JR said that the female should post the male, but the male should not feel obligated. And I'm like, JR. Sandy said the same thing. She said that is the worst thing you have said. He said he doesn't want to have passwords or phone access because he doesn't want to see what you're doing. And I'm like, that sounds off. JR said he was the recipient of infidelity from his spouse, but then you don't want passwords, you don't want to see or know anything. You're just going to stay there and be suspicious. He said he's scared of what he may see. He doesn't want to see. So I'm thinking that's reverse. He don't want to see, so you shouldn't ask him to see what he's posting and what he's doing in his DMs. Sandy says she's liking being super vulnerable with him and is excited about the next chapter. Zeta and Scotty meet her friends and her sister. Scotty says, he loves that Zanaya is open and honest on what she wants. So the friends ask, what does Zanaya have that he lacks in his relationship? He says Arya was bad at relationships with men, and he feels that she has put this on him, and he has had to fight to prove her that men are not bad. And I can understand, Scotty, that is an uphill battle. So Zeta says she is able to tap more into her emotions with Scotty without hiding it. And her sister asks, are you changing your mind about marrying Arya? Asking Scotty. He said, I don't know. Because Zanaya is an incredible woman. So, the sister says out loud, she loves JR and she will be upset if they're not together. So put in the comments, will you choose someone because your family likes them? How much input would your family have since it's been like 2.5 years Zanaya and JR have been together? So the friends are surprised that a strong connection has happened with Scotty so quickly. Caleb and Arya, now we got a s'mores basket. These are roomies. These two are roomies. He said he missed her today. She makes him feel comfortable, and he can imagine her married. Not to him. He said he can imagine her married. Arya says she cares, and she cares a lot, and that he thinks of her and does things for her even when she's not there. They do hold hands. She seems giddy. She seems like she's falling for the nice guy, Caleb. But Caleb seemed distant. It's like, I'm just doing this. But it could be just for the cameras. Caleb could be seeing something completely different on the side. Arya says that because Caleb is so open, she has no distrust for him. And the attraction is, I guess, growing. So I'm wondering, is Scotty not open? But we shall see. JR and Sandy, they meet her friends and family. Her mom and her sister are there as well. They share their day and they talk for so long at the end of the day. Remember, Sandy said that Nick doesn't really show, interest in her day, doesn't even ask her how was her day. Sandy says that JR is very strong mentally and he is stable and she's never had that. Oop, Nick, are you unstable? Bad choice of words, but this is what Sandy's saying. Mom said, oh, you're finally with someone pulling their weight? Mama, what do you know? We need to talk to Mama. Sister says that she has watched Sandy give her all to her partner and receive very little in return. Jera says it is the, deepest he has been with a partner. Interesting. Nick is told that JR met Sandy's mom and it rocked him. He is crying in the apartment. No shade on his crying or showing of emotions, but he is shook. He calls Sandy. He says, I love you, I'm scared. She talks to him while with JR. She is sitting right there in front of JR and talking to Nick. So I'm guessing JR hears everything. Nick says, why are you punishing me like this? I've done nothing wrong. Now, Nick. You brought Sandy to the show. You issued the ultimatum. Sandy says, "You are blowing up my phone. You're being disrespectful to me in the process." Nick says, "If you are over me, there's no reason for me to stay." Nick, you're sounding like you're trying to manipulate Sandy. You're sounding like you're trying to draw her in and away from JR to soothe your ego. And I'm sorry, I can't get with that. It seems like you issued the ultimatum, you brought her here, and now you're having buyer's remorse. So Nick says he has to sit in the biggest threat to his relationship, and he wails. That's the words Netflix and the ultimatum uses. He is in the bedroom, and we are hearing him wailing. Later on, we hear Nick is knocking at the door of JR and Sandy's apartment. I mean, I did a gentle knock just now. Nick was banging on that door. JR answers. Sandy says she doesn't want to see Nick. Nick does not take no for an answer. JR slams the door. Nick is like, banging on the door again. "Are you kidding me?" to JR. Sandy's like, "You need to leave. It's not fair." Nick is arguing at the door. Nick is acting unhinged. Nick wants them to go home. She's like, go away. JR slams the door. She blocks Nick on her phone. Nick goes home and wails. Wails. I don't like to see someone hurt, but Nick is not showing emotional intelligence right now. I'm sorry. So week 3, Caleb and Aria. Aria wants Scotty to act more like Caleb. And I'm like, girl, you cannot copy paste dudes. Caleb said he didn't anticipate a connection. And I'm like, did he grow an attraction? Caleb, you're giving me nothing with these facial expressions. You are monotone. I don't know if you like Aria or not. But Caleb said he wants to make sure that Aria and Mariah feel respected in the process. Scotty and Aria, no, Zanaya, sorry. He suggests a hot air balloon for a date. She's like, she don't like heights. He suggests a cryo chamber therapy. She doesn't want to feel cold. Scotty's like, if you don't want to be taken out, just say so. Why are you snappy? Why are you so snappy, Scotty, all of a sudden? 2 dates she doesn't like. You suggested. Why don't you turn around and say, well, what would you suggest? What would you like me to choose for you? You don't know her. Is what, week 3? Week 3. And you're like, if you don't want to be taken out. So later on, he's like, what is fun for you? Because it seems like they have different ideas of fun. He says she sounded disgusted by his suggestions, and he doesn't like that. She's like, it's not about him, it's just her raw emotion. So finally he comes up, he has a problem with rejection. He got a lot of validation as a kid, so that rejection now is very hostile to him. It seems the way he's reacting. So then he asked, did you eat without me? Are you eating in front of my face right now without me? She's like, yeah, I figured you ate without me. He's like, you figured wrong. Scotty, the snappy tone, the you figured wrong, is like, dude, really? Zanaya said it changed the tone of their conversation. I'm sure it changed the tone of your day. Mariah and Nick, they go to boxing class. She says, oh, they need to get some aggression out. He tells her he went to the door of JR and Sandy and had a tailspin. Oh, no, you had more than a tailspin, Nick. You went all the way off. Mariah's like, they're adults. We should know how to behave. We can behave. She said she's seen Caleb and Aria on dates. She's felt anxious, but she ain't do too much. So we see Aria and Caleb. Aria wants to tell Mariah that there's a connection more than friendship. And Caleb's like, not before this ladies' night and men's night. We are not doing this. We have a connection. We have a friendship. Nothing more. See, I told you Aria is looking at him with all stars in her eyes. But is Caleb trying to hide something? Caleb's still pulling out that couch. He's still sleeping on the couch as far as we see. So what are you hiding, Caleb? Why don't you want to say more? Or is it that Aria's in her head thinking there's more, and you're like, girl, ain't nothing more here. It's in your mind. So we have ladies' night. Sandy said that the handcuffs got tight when they got here, and now Nick is not respecting the process. So I did say early on when I first met Sandy and Nick, I said, Nick seems like he's restricting her. when Sandy's fire, and he said her fire directed at him, I didn't pick up that Sandy is just fireball just to be fireball. I was picking up that Sandy wants to be free, have some freedom, and that Nick is trying to either possibly control, possibly restrict her on having fun and doing what she wants to do. So now Nick is being restrained by the process. He ain't liking it. But Sandy says she does feel guilty, scared, and sad. Mariah does agree with her. Nick is in his head. He's insecure in the relationship, and his art is escapism for him. So Sandy said if art is escapism, he is not working through things. He is just taking his mind off of it. Mariah said, sorry, girl, he does not look like he'll make a good husband. So Sandy and Zanaya go talking, and Zanaya says, she's cool with Sandy. So, and she wanted someone to help JR through the process. And Sandy says, yeah, we're not hooking up. She said she is training JR for Zanaya. And I'm like, really? Are we for real? You training JR? Girl, please. So she said he isn't holding, back. He is actually showing vulnerability, but she said he's holding on to the past and what he has been through. So Zanaya says as soon as a woman gets a ring on her finger, the character changes, according to JR. Sandy says yes, his one time at marriage has shown him that. But Zanaya said he does not vocalize or show that what he values in a wife. So Sandy's like, I'm sure he'll choose you. I'm sure he'll choose you, girl. And I'm like, I'm not so sure. So Arya and Mariah talk, and Arya says that Caleb is calm, he is respectful, he is goofy, and he's okay with her saying he's goofy. Apparently Scotty isn't. So Mariah said it makes her happy that he is nice. Then Arya goes on to say that, he says you have been on him needing to know where he is and what he's doing on his trip. And I'm like, that's sounding like Mariah is being like her mother. Remember, Mariah had said she had to be up under her mother constantly. So I'm like, are you needing to be up under Caleb? But Mariah goes on like, no, I thought it was just healthy communication and not control. I don't want him to feel controlled. I just want him to always know that I will communicate with him and I care about him. So Arya said, but this doesn't make him feel trusted. So I'm wondering, I need to know, is Mariah reaching out to him now in the process? She said she's seen him on dates. She acted like she's been anxious, but she has not reached out to him. So I'm wondering if this could be a kind of confusion, because if she is not contacting him during this process, she may not be as clingy as we're being led to believe. So Mariah says, I do trust him, but sometimes she does self-sabotage. And, Arya says sometimes you can become a toxic person if you've been in a toxic relationship in the past. And Mariah's like, no, girl, that's not me. Maybe she's not who he's looking for, but she ain't toxic. So Arya says, well, Caleb and being nice is added to her confusion and what she needs to do for herself. And I'm like, girl. Men's night. Nick walks up and he apologizes to JR. He's like, then he makes it about him. He's like, I have never cried so much. I've been so spun out. I was in a tailspin. No, Nick, this is about apologizing to JR for your foolishness, not to turn it around for people to sympathize with you. I don't like that apology. I wouldn't accept it. JR said he lost all respect for Nick with that apartment incident. I was like, yes, JR, yes, tell him. That was such disrespect. And I'm like, this could be so dangerous. Dangerous that he's allowed to know where they live and he can come at night. The crew isn't with them. It was only the stationary camera in the apartment. So Nick is like, I'm not the only guilty party because Sandy sends me texts sometimes saying, I miss you. Nick, Sandy did not show up at your door and Sandy did not tell you to come over and say stuff. JR is like, I didn't know you knew where we lived. It's a difference in seeing the balcony and looking up and seeing them there. And it's a difference with going and counting the doors. Nick, you're giving unhinged. Nick says she looks at JR the way she used to look at him. Yeah, Nick, you're frustrating her now. JR said he chose Sandy because they both were issued the ultimatum, and Nick is making it easy for her to decide with all his antics. Nick said he is scared about the connection between JR and Sandy. He hopes JR's ex is getting something out of this. And I'm like, Nick, there you go again. Now you're throwing Arya at JR. You're not dealing with your issue, so now you're throwing a different layer of paint on it to try and deflect JR to think about his girl and get him all wired up like you are. It ain't gonna work with JR. I'm sorry, it ain't gonna work. So JR lists all that Sandy is helping him with, and she's showing him they're good people in the world. Nick is getting riled up. He is wiping his brow. He is moving in the seat. He is drinking his drink, and he is getting riled up with JR talking about all of Sandy's good qualities. JR said he also got to work on things with her, and he is conflicted. Okay. Caleb said it's just friendship between him and Arya. Don't worry about him approaching her in a romantic sense. And I was like, I feel that, but I don't know, because Arya wants to say there's more. Whew. Wait a minute. Scotty says no man he has ever met just wants to be friends with Arya. That he feels contrived. I'm like, dude, are you looking for a fight? Scotty, are you looking for a fight over Arya? Because the man said he ain't interested. Why you? He ain't never met a man that didn't want his woman. Sounding kind of egotistical. Sounding very egotistical. So Scotty says he wants Arya to tell him honestly how she feels. And Zanaya is so calm, and she needs her man to be emotionally vulnerable. It has nothing to do with his perceptions of JR. And JR is like, you sure? You sure? Because I heard you spreading rumors about me. JR said he heard through a grapevine that Scotty is telling folks that he and Sandy are just there for a hall pass. So Scotty calmly is like, why do you think it came from me? JR won't say who told him. JR, if you're going to spill the tea, you got to say the teapot it came from. JR, this is what I don't like. If you want to say, then tell it all. I have a right, Scotty, meaning Scotty, have a right to face my accuser. Okay? If you ain't going to say it all, don't say it. So JR feels that Scotty would do that to get Zanaya to open up more and to manipulate her that way. Huh? Scotty said that's not how he moves. That's not how he moves. And why are you getting mad? JR said his name is being used and he's having a real connection with Sandy. So Nick asked, are y'all sleeping together? Is that the real connection you're talking about? JR is like, we're in the same bed. Yes, everybody in the same bed, ain't we? And Caleb is like, mm-mm. Nick is like, that's not what I'm asking. Caleb's like, yeah, that's not what he's asking. Are y'all sharing the bed in other ways? Nick feels JR wants to break him and Sandy up, and JR said he has made no decision. He hasn't decided if he's going to leave with Sandy, or if he's going to leave with Zanaya engaged, or if he'll leave alone. And that is the end of episode 5. Thank you for joining me. It is getting hot in here, and I think, if you wanted to know, I think Nick is saying that hall pass thing, because Nick came out and said hall pass or looking for, free ride. So I wouldn't, put that on anything other than probably Nick said it and not Scotty. JR, you're looking at the wrong post, but I don't know. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope you will join me for the next episode, because they're dropping, I believe, 3 more next week. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel.